Hi everyone, welcome back to Corporate Decoder, the place where we decode the mysteries of money and business, and let me tell you, this latest filing from Accel Entertainment is quite the page turner, making promises of big money and big changes. Before we jump into the nitty gritty, if you love getting clear, actionable insights from complex financial documents, make sure you're subscribed. And hey, if you want to connect with fellow finance enthusiasts and discuss these filings further, join our Discord community linked in the description below. Today we're diving into Accel Entertainment's latest report. It's like a big update on how they are doing financially and what new deals they've made. Think of it as a peek behind the curtain of a company that's all about entertainment, but in a very business-like way. This report tells us about a really important agreement they've entered into, which is a new credit agreement. Now, credit agreements can sound a bit dry, but they are essentially the lifeblood of many companies, allowing them to borrow money to grow, operate, or make big purchases. Accel Entertainment, or the company as it's called here, has just signed a new credit agreement. This is a big deal because it shapes how they get and use money. It involves several banks, with CIPC Bank US set up a new way for them to borrow and manage their finances. What kind of money are we talking about? Well, this new agreement sets up two main ways to borrow. First, there's a term loan facility for a whopping $600 million. This is like a big loan with a set repayment schedule. Then there's a revolving loan facility for another $300 million. Think of this like a credit card for businesses. They can borrow, pay it back, and borrow again up to that limit. It's flexible and gives them ongoing access to funds. So in total, they now have access to $900 million through this new credit arrangement. That's a huge amount of money, and it signals some pretty significant plans or changes for Accel Entertainment. Why did they need this new agreement? Well, the report says the money from these new loans was used to pay off all their old debts from a previous credit agreement made back in 2019. This is common practice. Companies often refinance their debt to get better terms, lower interest rates, or simply to clean up their financial structure. It's like getting a new, better mortgage to pay off an old one. Now, about the cost of this borrowed money, it's not a fixed rate. They can choose to pay interest based on base rate, which is kind of like a benchmark rate tied to what the US government is charging, or they can choose a rate called term SOFR, which is another benchmark. On top of these base rates, there's an applicable margin, which is like an extra fee, and this margin changes depending on how much debt Accel has compared to its earnings. This margin can range from 0.25% up to 2.5%. This means the actual interest they pay can go up or down, making their borrowing costs flexible but also a bit unpredictable. It's a gamble, but one that can pay off if they manage their debt well. Who is on the hook for this massive amount of money? Well, not just Accel Entertainment itself, but also its main operating unit, Accel Entertainment LLC, and all their important subsidiaries. This is standard practice too. When a company borrows money, its assets and sometimes those of its related companies are used as security. And what are they using as security? For this $900 million loan, they've put up pretty much everything. All the assets of Accel Entertainment and its subsidiaries are pledged. This means if Accel can't repay the loan, the lenders have the right to take ownership of these assets to get their money back. It's a strong commitment, showing how serious they are about this loan. Now, with this much money comes responsibility, and the agreement lays out a bunch of rules. These are called covenants, and they basically put certain limits on what Accel can do. For example, they can't just keep taking on more debt, they can't sell off important parts of the business without permission, and they have to be careful about doing deals with their own executives or related parties. They also can't just pay out huge dividends or buy back a lot of their own stock without meeting certain conditions. These rules are designed to protect the lenders by making sure Accel operates in a way that keeps it stable and able to repay the loan. There are also specific financial targets Accel must hit. They need to keep their first lien net leverage ratio below 4.75 to 1. This ratio essentially measures how much debt they have compared to their earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, and amortization, after considering any debt that has priority over this new loan. They also need to maintain a fixed charge coverage ratio of at least 1.20 to 1. This measures their ability to cover all their fixed costs like interest payments and lease payments with their earnings. Falling below these targets can trigger a default. This measures their ability to cover all their fixed costs like interest payments and lease payments with their earnings, before interest, taxes, depreciation, and amortization. After considering any debt that has priority over this new loan, they also need to maintain a fixed charge coverage ratio of at least 1.20 to 1. Hitting a leverage ratio of 4.75 to 1.00 means for every dollar of earnings Accel makes before certain expenses, they can have up to $4.75 in debt that has a first lien, meaning it gets paid back first if things go south. This is a pretty tight leash, meaning they need to perform well to stay compliant. The fixed charge coverage ratio of 1.0 to 1.00 means they need to have earnings that are 20% higher than their fixed obligations. This gives a cushion, showing they can comfortably handle their loan payments and other fixed expenses. It's a good sign if they can maintain this, but it adds pressure. This is just a summary, of course. The full agreement is much more detailed and filed as an exhibit. It's the legal document that truly binds them. This section confirms that the information we just discussed about the credit agreement is indeed a new financial obligation for Accel Entertainment. It's a direct confirmation of the new debt they've taken on. Accel didn't just sign the deal, they also announced it with a press release. This is standard practice to let investors and the public know about significant financial moves. We don't have the press release content here, but it's filed as another exhibit number 99.1, so it's publicly available information for anyone who wants to dig deeper. And here's a listing of the documents that back up this report. Exhibit 10.1 is the actual credit agreement, the foundational document for all this debt. Exhibit 99.1 is the press release, the company's official statement to the world about this new financing. Finally, we have the signature block. This is where a duly authorized person from Accel Entertainment officially signs off on the report, confirming its accuracy and completeness. Here it's signed by Scott Levin, the Chief Legal Officer and Corporate Secretary, indicating he's given the official stamp of approval. And the date the report was submitted is September 12, 2025. This means the signing of the agreement on the 10th was followed by the official filing a couple of days later. So what does all this mean for Accel Entertainment? Well, taking on $900 million in new debt is a massive undertaking. It signals a really strong intent to grow, or perhaps to restructure their operations significantly. Refinancing their old debt shows they're actively managing their financial health, aiming for better terms or more flexibility. The covenants and financial ratios, like the leverage and coverage ratios, are crucial. They are the guardrails that keep Accel on the right track. If they can comfortably meet these, it means they are managing their business very effectively. They have a strong operational performance and are not over-leveraging themselves. This gives confidence that they can handle the debt. However, if they falter and miss these targets, it could signal trouble brewing, leading to default and potentially severe consequences for the company and its assets. The gamble here is that Accel believes it can generate enough revenue from its entertainment ventures to comfortably service this new debt and meet all the conditions. If their business continues to thrive, this move positions them for potentially significant expansion without the immediate pressure of high interest rates on older, possibly less favourable debt. It's a strategic play that could either supercharge their growth or, if mismanaged, create significant financial strain. They are betting on their ability to perform and grow. What's your take on Accel Entertainment's new debt situation? Do you think this massive borrowing is a sign of exciting expansion plans or a red flag for future financial stability? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you found this deep dive helpful and want more such analyses, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel, and don't forget to join our Discord community. Linked in the description to continue the conversation. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next decoding.